Just an update where I'm up to with the Escort. I've painted it myself in a colour called Full Breeze. It's a Ford colour off the Falcons in Australia. So it's come out really good. I'm happy with it. I used this to fill the spray gun I got from the UK. It's really good. I'm happy with that. Does a great job. Not cheapest item, but you get what you pay for. I haven't buffed the car back. I've only just painted it and left it as is because I don't want to get scratched up when you're doing stuff around the car. I've buffed this guard up just to give me an indication about how well it was going to come out and that. So I'm really happy with that. Pretty shiny. I've used the 3D products from the local paint store. This stuff here, it's really good. So yeah, done all that. It's come out really good. So the painting's done. It's got to buff the rest of the car up, but I'll do that later. Got the factory Escort spoiler, and I've cut this centre out for the intercooler. For the interior, I've put this acoustic liner material in, and underneath I've got the Dynamat type material. Put that in there, so that's come out really good. As for the rear end, I've put the rear end back in like how it was before, so it's got leaf suspension, a couple of extra leaves fitted to make it a bit stronger and stiffer than that. So that's how it is. I can't get the springs reset yet because the car's going to be sitting on the ground. Then I know how much I need to get the springs changed at all. But yeah, that's the differential is out of an R31 Skyline. They come out in the Falcons and the Skylines, the Borg Warner diff. So the centre, it was an open diff, and I used to have a lot of problems getting traction when racing and that. So what I've done, I've fitted a True Track LSD centre, and I had problems with the 25 spline axles. I was starting to twist up from having the slicks on it and taken off the line. So I've had Mozart built axles made to suit this assembly. The brakes are R31 Skyline. They sit over top of the axles, and I had that made in the past. That's really good. So it's got Munro gas shocks, put all new bushes through the rear end. I made all new brake lines. All new brake lines all through. And on the subject of brake lines, I bought this little tool off eBay. It's a hell of a lot cheaper than buying the full kit. So this kit here, it does a single flange or a double flange. It does a really good job. Highly rate it. It's only like $50, which is heaps cheaper than buying a full flaring tool kit. So on the front, I bought a Mark 1 Mondeo in the past, and I stripped a lot of the parts off it to use in the Escort. So what I've done something completely different. I've used Mark 1 Mondeo rotors. They go over top of the Escort hub, and then I've used the Mondeo caliper, and I've made an adapter bracket to make that work. I've tested it in the car. I've done brake tests and that. It's sweet. It really pulls the car up good. And for the master cylinder, the brake booster, what I've done, I've got rid of this whole, like this assembly that used to go behind the booster. I've got rid of that, and I've modified this inner guard here. Can't really see it, but I've modified the inner guard so that I can get the brake booster in there. So the booster sits up sweet. Then I've got this VZ Commodore. It's a Australian model car. I've got this master, and it's got a bigger cylinder in it, so that it can feed the brakes better. And so yeah, I've tested this all in the past, but since then I've made all new brake lines. This is the right thing to do after having a car this old and it's been to fire. So the brakes work really good. Like, it's a mix and match of many different cars, but it works great and it does the job. Yet to find out how it goes when I do the proper plate brake testing for the engineer and that, but waiting to see how that goes. So that's the brake setup. Then over to this motor. I bought this motor about 10 years ago. I had 40,000 kilometers on it. The motor has done hardly anything. But before the car got caught up in this fire, I had just the like a little. I had a Mamba GT 2871R turbo. It's basically a copier for a Garrett turbo. Had that on it, and it was just, this motor was awesome. Really went well when I had the manual transmission behind it. But since then, since the fire, I've replaced it with the retro Ford rocker cover, the leads, and I've also got the coil relocation kit, which mounts up on the bottom here. And then I've got the retro Ford engine mounts. And on the subject of retro Ford, I've got the retro Ford sump. And yeah, that's it for the outside of the motor. And there's a lot of people are confused about how to set up all the gearing and that for the water pump and all that. I've just made this bracket up myself. I've used it in the past. It's sweet, does the job. Pump goes the right direction. Then I've got these vernier cam pulleys. Got them off eBay. I like them. Inside the motor, it's got JE forged pistons, Eagle rods, got billet oil pump gears, got Newman valve springs. So yeah, that's the motor side of it. That's what I'm going to crack on with now. That and the wiring. I've got the wiring out of the car. I've looked over it. It appears to be okay. Like, the car ran sweet after the fire, but I thought I'd just get the loom out and just have a look over it and see if I can make a few changes to it, tidy it up a bit. The Mega Squirt 2 ECU, I've pulled that apart. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. It worked good after the fire, so all good. And over here, I've got this C4 automatic transmission. Had a belt to suit the Escort. It's manualised. It's been modified to handle extra power. And this bell housing, there's a place in Australia called Dello. They make bell housing to suit all different types of conversions. So this is built to adapt the Pinto to the C4, but we all know that the bell housings from the Pintos bolt up to the Z-Tech. So what I've done, I've chopped out the flange that accepted the Pinto starter motor, and I've changed it to a Z-Tech flange. So that was a lot of work, but it works sweet. I had this torque converter made by Dominated Torque Converters in Australia. It's set at 3,000 RPM. I had to get it made to suit the Z-Tech to C4. It's a lot of work. It's probably the only one in the world. I've got this, that's inlet manifold. I made that myself, all stainless steel. I was running an old Mondeo throttle body, but it was a pain in the ass because the idle air control, I had to mount it separately down here, and it was just a pain in the butt. So what I've done since, I bought this throttle body. It's off a Falcon, EL Falcon, Australia here, and it's got a built-in idle air control. So I've just got to modify that flange to work with that manifold, but it uses the same wiring, so I can just, yeah, that's another job on the list. And I've got this World Cup cross member. Just got to press those bushes in. Got that from Burton Power. If you ever want to get Z-Tech conversion stuff, go to Burton Power. The stuff gets delivered so quick. Yeah. So it's not cheap buying all retro Ford stuff, but it's well and truly. You just get a good quality product. If you don't do it properly and do it once, it's the way to go. I've made all the stuff before. I've made my own engine mounts. I've made my own sump. I've had it all. But since this fire, I thought, you know what? I've got the motor out for the third time. I'll just go out and buy everything I need, do it properly, so then I don't have to worry about it again. But I've bought a new turbo. It's a G25/660. It's like Garrett's new generation of the turbo, it spools up really early, and yet it flows great up high RPM. So I've still retained the factory cams, factory ports. I'm just going to see how it goes, and it's running on E85, so I haven't had to lower the compression or anything. I'm going to put ARP mains, ARP head studs, multi-layer head gasket. I'm just going to wind the boost up and see what happens. Like, there's so many stories on the internet. Oh, you can't get over 330 horsepower. The head will start choking up. Oh, the billet oil pump gears, which I've got in it, they'll shatter. First I've ever heard of it. There's so many stories about what you can and can't do. I'm just going to go out there and wing it and see what happens. If it breaks, so be it. Lesson learned. I'll share it with everyone, and I'll just build it up again. So yeah, that's where I'm at. But should hopefully have this motor in the car in the next month, I reckon. Yep, that's where I'm up to. So yeah, hope you enjoy, everyone.